You ran the Copenhagen half marathon. How is the thought to just do it? And
putting it bluntly, peer pressure.
Welcome back to the Not That Good Yet podcast. Today's guest is João. He's a very good friend of mine, and he has a very particular approach when it comes to sports. He has tried a lot of different things, from fighting sports, gym, running, sauna goose, and now most recently tennis. He doesn't take himself too seriously, so he's not afraid of seeking discomfort and being in that awkward stage of starting something new. It was a very nice conversation, and I hope you enjoy it too. If you want to support the podcast, please rate it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and subscribe on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you enjoy.
I think I'm also still figuring it out with the sports. I think it comes a bit down to what's the role that sports plays into your life, right? And in my case, I think it came quite late. I think I started discovering the joy of doing sports through Corona. I've done some sports before, some like tennis and also, weirdly enough, table tennis.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did 1 year and a half of table tennis when I was 12 or 13. But I was always very not so much exposed to sports. And then it was throughout COVID that I think it was the first time I started training with some friends. And I think it was also the first time where I started feeling really good about it. You know, definitely I was not. I was definitely not at the same level of that my friends of those friends of mine that were doing it at the time. They were all, you know, like jack guys from the military, like doing a bunch of shit, and I was just their friend wanting to tag along, mostly to spend some time together.
Or was it mostly like gym?
Gym, CrossFit
Okay.
things. So it felt quite hardcore for me, who had no physical preparation. I was just going on some occasional runs by myself, but just really to keep the body active once or twice a week. And I think at that moment I really understood that, you know, that sports was really making me feel good. And then that was the starting point for me to start having it more regularly into my routine. And since then, like, I've done like a bunch of different stuff, never really into a very professional pro level, but mostly to just try out and to keep this sense of playing around with the different things that I would be doing. So yeah, that's how like this whole mountain of doing like a gym, CrossFits, yogas, Pilates, kickboxing, boxing, tennis, climbing, you know, like all these, I guess also it becomes also both a blessing and a curse that I don't take myself too seriously. So I think I'm aware that my biological inclination is not to be an elite sports athlete, though at the same time I want to keep active and also to achieve milestones. But in its own way, like I maybe sometimes I might even downplay myself a bit, but I think it's more about not taking myself too seriously. And that just allows me to put myself into situations where I might feel like a bit uncomfortable at the beginning, such as trying a new sport, and how, you know, when you try a new sport, it's kind of like the first time someone goes at the gym and you're just all these, you know, self-conscious of like, hey, people are looking at me, I'm doing these things all wrong and so on. But I think at this point I kind of like that. I also kind of like that uncomfortable position, and having the ability of then also joking with myself about it makes it also a very freeing experience, where I get to move my body into different ways and learn like another skill. But I think to me it comes down to also the role that sports plays into my life, which I don't think it is so much about me overcoming myself and becoming better, but it becomes more of a mood regulator, or just like just bringing up these brain balance that makes me feel good, and that makes me want to. It feels that when I'm being active with doing sports, like everything just tastes, it's like a drug. Like everything just tastes nicer. Like your rests are more calm. Like when you have more energy, you're like very energetic. So like it feels that like my body gets a bit amplified when I play these things, right? And when I'm being active. And so I think that's the main purpose of why I do it, and also why I maybe like to try different things. And then of course I will go on my arcs and like, okay, grinding something up and becoming a bit better. But I think I haven't found yet a sport where either that I can do it like regularly, because there's like a good opportunity close by my house that doesn't require big commuting, or that is not crazy expensive for my budget. So like there's also these other variables into, as you're saying, that with the running, like so many people can run because it's just so easily accessible for a lot of people. So the barriers to entry are quite low, versus a sports, for example, that I'm trying to grind a bit more now, which is tennis. That is, especially when you become an adult, like suddenly you just realize how expensive the whole thing can be. And also like that process of wanting to become better also becomes kind of like a betting game of like, okay, how much am I willing to bet on this new thing for me? And I think also sometimes like, and then different people have very different aversions to how much time and money they would like to spend on sports. Yeah. So you have people that would just, go blindly buying the best equipment straight out of something that they're just starting, and others where that would just be the last, like only when they would feel that they're super, super good at something that they would then buy these like really good technical gear. Yeah. So I think we all have different approaches to it.
How do you approach that? Because actually it's something that I think growing up, it was also like how my parents were. It's like, you need to start doing it and kind of become somewhat good in it, and then we'll think if it makes sense to buy the expensive thing and the blah blah, and I think I've carried that with me somewhat, but with running actually it came as one day I just said, okay, I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna set these goals into the future. I'm gonna start doing this. And I bought a pair of running shoes and very quickly bought my watch as well, which, I mean, these things can not be that cheap. But it was also because I was doing intervals and tracking times with your phone. It's not the easiest, or the GPS was failing me on my phone at all times. And I was like, if I'm going to do this, I committed myself to it. So it made it kind of a no-brainer. Like, I'm gonna need this at some point. I'm gonna just get it. But how do you navigate that? Are you someone who just I don't know, do you follow, maybe you want to have the special thing of like a special trend or something, or do you just like go as you need? Or
yeah, I think on this I can both be like a impulse buyer on some of these things and maybe kind of regret them afterwards, but not to a crazy extent. So I think maybe like in my specific case, I guess when I'm starting something and I start feeling, okay, maybe I could do this nice, I would try to buy like a mid upper tire kind of equipment, such as like a racket or shoes, or just to make sure that I would also have a kind of pleasant experience while starting that sport. But I think that's also like a blessing of being like a young adult in a city with a job and not having so many responsibilities, and just having like some extra money out of your budget that you can just spend on these things that, they're kind of like
they're also
toys,
fun.
like adult toys, whatever this might sound. It's my kinks.
For example, like I don't know, with a watch or with some shoes that are a bit more bouncy and it give you a little bit livelier run. Like I remember when I started running, I had these old running shoes that were like some bricks, some like wood sticks, and it was not as pleasant as with some like nice pair of shoes that's straight out of the box. Like it's just how things are, and it's also adding a little bit of fun to it through that. I don't see any bad in that.
But I would say that also, like, depending on how locked in you are with that sport. Let's say, I think if I was, for example, looking at running, I think if I had come to terms that, okay, like you're saying, I'm very locked in this is what I want to do, I think I would like to space out like the occasions where I'm buying new stuff and try to gradually increase it, and not buy the amazing stuff right there in the beginning, because I think you can then acquire some sort of like sensitivity towards when you upgrade upgrade to a newer equipment. And also, in a way, I think that could be kind of like a cool, pleasant way to manage how you will feel throughout that journey as you like progress on
kind
like,
of
your
add
achievements.
excitement through time, or add like, okay, I'm unlocking something that I needed this equipment for.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of gamifying it a bit, like imagine now, like you look at these new shoes and you're like, fuck, I really want to get those shoes. But what if you just set that goal of like, okay, I will allow myself to get those shoes when I get this goal, and seeing it as in like kind of an RPG game that you slowly acquire those things. That could be a cool way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think with sports that require more equipment and very expensive equipment, that's easier to do. I think with running shoes, it's like, okay, you got a pair of carbon shoes and a pair of normal shoes, running daily stuff. And I guess that's the extent. Of course, you could get the 400 euro pair of running shoes that's super limited, but it's like that the difference between that and the 200 or 150 pair might get you a few seconds, but I don't know, I feel like the difference is not crazy. But for me also, because I'm trying to get performance out of things, I think, although I try to get stuff on discounts, and for now especially because I also want to try to get some cheaper equipment so that I can try multiple brands and get some experience with like multiple different types of shoes and brands, so that I know what I like, know what works for me. And when I spend like big money on something, that I'm kind of more sure that it will work. Yeah, because I mean, brands have some particular similarities between the shoes that they produce in running, in the running world, and I guess in other sports it's probably even more because of amount of equipment that you need. Yeah, I imagine so. I have no idea. I mean, I just comes to mind our friend like that does kite surfing. I guess the range of things that you can upgrade to is I guess crazy. It's insane. So I don't know, just came to mind. Yeah, but we need to also put a disclaimer. This is like part of the talk for cheap people, right? Because if you're listening to this and you have a bunch of money that you don't mind spending on shit, just go ahead and buy the most crazy stuff. That's what I would do, at least. Yeah, money sensitive people, I guess. Yeah. Listen to this. Get some good stuff on discount, and try to find good deals on good shit. That's it. I think that's what I try to do. What do you think that was the piece of equipment that you've used the most, that you got the most, whatever value you paid for it, that you got the most out of it, that you can remember? I mean, I think if I'm not talking about like my computer, no, it's sports things. Sports things. I think the watch for sure. 100%. Like not even a question, because I feel like pairs of running shoes, I've ran through a lot of them. And some have some purposes, some others. And race day shoes, for example, I only use them in races, and I race sometimes, not every day. So it's also like a big spend, but it's for some minutes or some seconds in a competition. The watch, I use it every day, to track my fitness stats, or that I don't even look much anymore, but see the time, track my intervals, check everything. I use it every single day. It's always on my wrist, and it's something I would feel weird not having on my day-to-day, because it's so easy to just click it in, press run, go out, come in. It syncs with your phone, with your Strava, with your everything. You don't need to do anything else. Yep. And that that is just peace of mind.
Okay.
And yeah, I have never really needed to think about GPS getting lost and blah blah blah. Like it's just the best, and it's not the most expensive out of the range. It's like a mid-range watch, but I think by far that's it.
Cool.
What about for you? I mean, which sport are we talking about?
Any sport. My question is also very broad, but I don't know. Like I was imagining, like I don't know, the pair of shoes that you wear for 5 years, like, and then the sole disintegrated or something. I don't know. No, I think in my case it was my first tennis racket that even this winter I used it. It's definitely too light for my weight now and for what I play, but also when I go back home is the one that I have now at the moment there, and it's like, and I've used it for so many goddamn years that it's just, I got all those 30 euros back on the 100 times I've used that racket. So
good.
And even a friend of mine wanted to buy it this winter. Was like, nah, man, you're not getting this.
Not getting the nostalgia.
No.
But can you go through the multiple sports you've done throughout the years? So you said you started kind of your fitness sports with CrossFit, trying to catch up with your friends that were in the military, kind of doing that, kind of getting a bit more fit, trying to go to the gym and stuff. And how did you progress? If you want to go through like a timeline, or like not timeline, but go through what came after the other, and what is your mindset to start that new sport, and how did you manage to do that? Because some sports you need subscriptions to, or you need to find a studio or a gym or something specific to do it. So how did you navigate that? Because I feel like some people are like, I could try like it could be fun to experiment with this thing, but I don't know where to start, or I don't know where to how to go. So I don't know if you wanted to.
I mean, I would just do it, right? Like, so I started with. I think it was very important for me to start doing these sports with my friends during Corona, because I felt that all of them had been doing that for quite some time, and it was also throughout a phase where they were like really going crazy about it. Even one of them was like just setting up a gym at home, and so. Buying all the like gym equipment, like they were really going full at it. And so when I did that at the time, I had tried going to the gym by my own, but I just got blocked on that wall of intimidation that is like to go to a gym on your own. And I remember the journey of like, I signed up to a gym. I have this meeting with a personal trainer where, we have this meeting of like, okay, this is your plan. You can do this, and this. And then off you go. And then next time you come and you're alone, and you'll just look at everyone doing kind of their own thing and just assuming that like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Like, I don't know how to do any of this. I just feel stupid or so. And then it was just too intimidating. And I even remember at the first gym I was going to sign up with like I also got super attracted to the woman that was on the reception, and she explained how things were working to me, but I could not pay any attention, and then I just like left. It's like it was kind of a rocky start, I think. But so it was very important for me to be with these friends, because they explain me like how to do the exercises, like for a period of like 3-4 months, and
kind of like a coaching thing.
Yeah, kind of coaching. I was definitely the guy that like they were all waiting for at the end to finish the exercises, so I thank them a lot for that. But that was super nice, because I was just there. Like, I did not know that I was learning so much until the moment when I moved abroad and came to Denmark, and then started going into the gym with like some other friends, and I felt quite comfortable, and I knew what I had to do at the gym, and that was kind of like the start of the progression to get my body a bit more in shape than what it was before, because I was just staying not moving myself too much, playing a lot of computer games, and so I was I'm still very thin, but I was way thinner at the time, and had no muscles and no coordination, and so that was kind of like the base then for me to go in and to start trying out Other sports with a bit of a more maybe ambition, so to say, that I had before, because before I had no physical condition, so anything that I would get at, it would also be a bit difficult to start. That was at least my experience.
I felt the same with gyms. I mean, I've throughout my years have tried going to the gym a few times with friends and stuff, and to try, but I never had the ambition of aesthetics in working out and in doing sports. So also that part of going just to the gym for the aesthetics didn't really do it as a motivation for me to go. And then it was that same thing. Like I would go and I would feel lost. And I think only now, and I kind of had a thing against gyms. Like I didn't like the environment and going and all that. And now I kind of understand it, because it's just a place you go because you have a goal and you're going. It has the equipment that you need, and you just go do your thing. And that's for me, that's it. And it's very helpful now that I'm doing some strengthening that's very directed to running. And I've actually started to enjoy it, which is something that if you asked me years ago, I'd be like, I'd probably never like to do that. But I'm starting to understand, okay, if I do this, my training is going to go better, my results are going to go better. So I started kind of getting a taste for it. But I was also guided on exactly what to do for my specific needs.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, for example, being coached, I think that's a huge thing. Just having someone to guide you that knows, it's a huge step.
Yeah, and I think that will also be one of the roles that would also be very, very difficult. It would be very difficult to like ever substitute that with an AI thing or so.
Yeah.
And even today I was speaking about with a good friend of mine that he's also a coach, personal trainer. And we were speaking about it because now I'm like just going on this side project of like trying to make an app myself for like some gym purposes.
Yeah. Let's talk about that in a bit.
And I was just excited to tell him like, hey, I'm just trying something. Like I thought about you because you do these kind of things. Like I could see that this could maybe, like help you or so. Like not that I'm doing this with that end goal, but just thought about it and to connect.
Yeah.
And then we were speaking about it that like, yeah, it's like the most, like for most of his customers or his clients, like what he notices is this importance of the human connection, like the motivation, like to be able to speak and like having them like feeling that they're heard. He was also telling me something that I found quite interesting, that was the importance of for someone who's just becoming who's just starting to go to the gym or starting to becoming active, like the importance of suggesting your client a plan that they feel comfortable and that they like becomes much more important than suggesting them the best plan for them. Because for an early adopter, you have all of these insecurities that when you see a new exercise, like you might just panic. And if you are to go to the gym, not so comfortable yet with the machines or the equipment or with your body or like with all it entails, if you're suggested a plan to go do something new, maybe your reluctance to appear at the gym will decrease. So that is also definitely something that you want to cater for when you're coaching new persons, new people. And when I first heard this, was like, okay, this really sounds kind of like a sales pitch of like, okay, you don't want to lose your clients, so you'll just suggest them what they want to hear and not really what they want to do. But when I also then reflected about it, it's like, okay, I could also see that ultimately this also is benefiting the person, because more important, like as long as we're not suggesting them exercises that will harm them, I guess any exercise would just be better than no exercise. And if that's what takes to start building the journey, then be it. And then you have this initiation, and then bit by bit, you start increasing more the exercises that you as a coach feel that would benefit the person the most. And that was quite an interesting view on it that I had never thought about, and makes quite good sense.
Yeah, I think also that goes kind of along with the if I'm feeling a bit low, I'll talk with the coach and adapt the training to fit whatever is going on. I think for me that's huge. But again, I've never used any these AI solutions, so I don't know exactly how good things are. And I want to get to that app that you're working on. But before, I wanted to talk a bit about Bruce.
Yeah.
And because I think a lot of people don't know what it is, or might know, but I think you introduced me to it.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably a good tool for you to try all these things. Yeah, if you wanted to. Just
No, that's like, also when I saw this product, I felt that this was also very much designed for what I like to do, which is to go out and try new stuff. So I mean, so it's this essentially membership. There's like there's Bruce, there's ClassPass, there's like these things that I think it's just such a nice product for someone who lives in a place where there's a lot of things happening at the same time, and instead of just binding yourself just to one place to do one thing, you can pay a bit extra and allow yourself to try a lot of different things around in the city and kind of scout around what is the thing that you might want to bet on. If you're like me, then you'll just like endlessly stay on the doing a bunch of things at the same time. So as of now, my routine is a mix of Pilates with gym, with some sauna goose sessions, some running and some tennis. So this is my week. So I'm not going into deep into anything, but at the end of a week, at the end of a month, I have insane amounts of good chemicals in my brain from all these like amazing activities that I've been doing and how I've been moving my body throughout. And so I think, I highly recommend people to try it out. And but I think it's also only like specific, let's call it personalities or persons that can also enjoy this type of experiencing a lot of things at the same time, because you have to be comfortable with putting yourself into situations that you probably are not so comfortable with, and into trying something new. And and when you're maybe the only guy showing up at a hot yoga session and you're 30 people and you're doing things that I'm zero flexible. I know yoga is not about flexibility and whatnot, but these thoughts come into your head. I think you have to be comfortable with joking about yourself and not taking yourself too seriously to actually enjoy that, because if not, that will be like a haunting experience for someone to have. So
how do you fit all those activities, because they're quite different? And for me, I think it's also a matter of routine. Like I like the routine of things. If I can do my training same day, same time every week, the same way, it gives me a bit of calmness, because I know I will be able to achieve it because I've done it in the past, and it kind of allows me to optimize my time so that I still have time to meet friends and I still have time to rest and to do everything around that I can. How do you fit all that into your routine? Do you have a routine? Do you work like that, or do you just wake up one day and it's like, today I could do this, and you just go?
I think I have routines, but I see it as kind of like my day to day or week to week or month to month, like, needs to have a component of stable things and a component of new things. And this is kind of a balance that goes across I think a lot of spectrums of my life. So it can be both my work life, my personal life, and here we can put the people that I'm meeting, the sports that I'm doing, the food that I'm eating, the music that I'm listening. So for me to be able to like enjoy, like go on, like if I'm going to a lot of sports, into new locations or trying out new sports, there has to be some other things in my life that are a bit like stable. And maybe it can be, maybe I can use this to a period where maybe I feel that my work is a bit repetitive for that month, or where I'm maybe a bit, uninspired with like what I'm cooking or whatnot. And then I need to get this inspiration through like the activities that I'm doing. And I think also a lot with these Bruce things is you can go to try out different stuff, but also you can get to go to places that you've never been in the city, and like, you know, enter into new buildings or into new places, get to see new people, make new connections. So you get also to see the city in a different way. And these things of, you know, also striving to optimize time to fit also and other things is sometimes also something that in my personal life I also sometimes more and more like start questioning if that's also what the best optimization that can be for me, because it can be that, you know, if I'm gonna play tennis or if I'm gonna go to the gym, maybe it can be worth to take the route that takes 5 minutes more if that is passing on a lake or a garden that makes me feel nice. And so in that sense, it might not be like time optimal for me to do that in my routine, but maybe at the end of the day I might be getting more to me and how that makes me feel, rather than trying to fit a lot of things into my schedule. Where do I want to go with this? I have no idea, but
no, I think that's how you deal with having all these different things in the weekend. Because for me, I think what you do, and I've also tried Bruce. It's been my gym membership, pretty much through Bruce, and it allows me to do sauna sometimes, like we've done sometimes, or Pilates or other things. But I don't know. I feel like for me, I'm so focused on one thing. The time I want to allocate to other things starts becoming shorter, or it might not justify for achieving the goals I'm looking for, you know. So I think, for example, if I was to go take a kickboxing class, my first thought would be maybe I would get like bruises on my legs, and then I wouldn't be able to run tomorrow, and then I would be like, okay, I'm not striving to get closer to what I want to achieve. So maybe that's why I don't try as many things. Yeah, and maybe I'm a bit obsessive, and I don't have that newness thing to experiment new things. But I mean, that's why. Yeah.
And I mean,
it works for different people.
Also, right now, for example, I'm in a phase where I'm not really training like Muay Thai kickboxing, precisely because I'm afraid of injuring my wrists or my articulations on my knees or so. That would prevent me also from playing tennis. So of course that I'm also doing these like balances myself, and but I think it goes a lot through phases, and I also see it as kind of like as a good and a bad thing of like not having one fixed sport when I'm grinding it all the way up, because I feel that throughout this journey of trying different things, you collect different knowledges from different areas where you can apply into the new sport that you're doing. But also comes at the expense of maybe not becoming super good at that sport. But I guess that always depends on how you feel about not being so good at the sport that you're doing. Because I think most of us, we end up, as you're saying, like most of us are not elite athletes. Yeah. So why is it that we want to do sports in the first place? Yeah. Because if it's just to like make us feel good and have like a good time for ourselves in our routines and amplify all the other feelings that we might get, or just to get some me time and not have to deal with like any of the other things that are going on our life, and just have this moment of play, which as we go also into adult life is something that we start missing more and more. Just the sentiment of like just be playing just for the sake of playing is something that is quite that is also quite, I imagine it, I'm no scientist or doctor on these things, but I imagine it being also quite beneficial for our mind, and quite regulating our system, because when we are in this play, like we are not our the personas that we have for who we are, right? It's when you're playing something, or when you're running with someone or so, you're just that player, and you're present. Occupying you're present, you're like doing this like mindfulness exercise, right? You're kind of a meditation, and it's amazing, either when you're doing it alone, just running on yourself in the middle of the woods, or playing something with other people, and just being on those on that zone. I think it's amazing.
That reminded me of something from last year. You ran the Copenhagen half marathon.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'd say I mean I didn't run it, but we were quite together in that process. I was there cheering, but I kind of wanted to talk a bit about that. How was that experience? How was the thought to just do it, and how did it feel during and just
Yeah, so how did I get into it? Putting it bluntly, peer pressure. And my flatmate, our flatmate at the time, was like, man, let's just do it. I'm going to get you the ticket. We're going to get the stamps. We're going to go. I was like, I mean, Copenhagen half marathon, everyone speaks about it. So it was like, I was also kind of in shape. I was definitely not training for a half marathon, but I was in good enough shape. And it was like, okay, let's do it. So I definitely went there a bit intimidating. Like, man, I've never run more than 13, 14K in my life, but should be okay. And then the process of like running it together with a friend, or with two friends actually, was amazing. And also then the whole environment that you're surrounded by, like with people cheering on the street, having friends coming to support you. And I made a huge mistake of going to run with a fucking sweater, and then like 5 kilometers in with rain and whatnot.
It was a bad day. It was an ugly day that day.
I realized like what the mistake I've made, and it's like the feeling of also having you there and just being there supporting me, and also like just being able to give you my sweater, like just felt like fuck, like amazing. That was so nice. And then you were running with me also in that sense, and so I think that process of the half marathon was super nice. And then I think I also went through the stages of like learning how to suffer and how to deal with that suffering, but then it makes it also very much easier when you have all these people cheering up for you, because they are taking a bit of that burden away. And so I will definitely repeat it, and hopefully this year I'll be able to prepare it a bit more. But if not, I think it always can tell like a good story.
I think that's why I really love running. The day-to-day, of course, I really enjoy it, and the whole process of it. But the races, especially big races where you have like thousands of people around, and everyone is on their own fight. You're not really competing with anyone. You don't care if you're in front of the person next to you or not in the end. And you just navigate through that, and there's people all over the city, and everything is kind of an excitement, like a shared excitement. For me, that feeling makes me even perform better. Like makes me be in the mood for just giving my best. And I think, and it's also knowing yourself, because most of it, especially the longer distances, I mean, I haven't done a full marathon, but I imagine it's even worse. That's the mental side of things is the big challenge sometimes, or most of the times by the end of the race. What was going through your head in a sense?
I think after running the distance that my body was physically prepared for, which was probably like until kilometers 16, 17. That last bit was very, very painful, but then you just endure it, and in its own way try to distract yourself, to try to see like if the time flies by faster, and I think it was a lot about that. But now you were saying something that also got my brain firing. That was like, how do you think that, okay, first, do you think you're a competitive person? Or how do you perceive, what is the place that competitiveness plays in running? Because it's very different than being, you're being competitive with yourself, and not well, I have my own thoughts of it, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah. I don't think I'm super competitive, but I have my goals with myself, and it's kind of like a word I give to myself. I kind of make a deal with myself that I'm going to do this thing, and if I don't do it, I kind of feel like I failed myself in a sense. I mean, not very aggressively,
but isn't that like competitiveness, like being competitive with yourself?
Yeah, I guess if you want to call it that, but I don't feel like I need to be better than my peers around me, or I want to be faster than everyone, because I mean, being an elite in running, I don't know how my future is going to be, but I doubt I'm ever going to be competing on a high level. It's just I'm trying to get good at something, trying to get as good as I can and achieve some goals I have, and that's the extent of it. And I think not only and I think that's what I compete towards. And I think I find different small goals throughout different things. For example, it's also something that helps me keep going. But for example, I just did this half marathon, and I did my best time ever. And I think this time that I've done is what I would like to maintain throughout my 40s. Like a goal that it's not achieving something. It's like a goal that I would like for the span of, I don't know, 10 years to be able to achieve similar times to this, to be in this shape. And that means the whole process around it and the whole training around it. And even in a race is determined by your goal for that race. Because if you start too fast and you think you can do faster, you're going to die by halfway, and it's not going to be enjoyable because you don't have it in you. So in a sense, the competition is to hit your best that you in training figured out what it is for that specific race. That's how I see it. So that's why if someone in front of me in a race is running extremely fast, it has little influence on my performance in that race, because I started and I know I want to try to achieve this pace for the average of the whole race, and try maybe to negative split, do the second half faster than the first half, and that's my challenge. That's my makes total sense. My head is really far. I have a lot of things to say on this, I think, because I think running is definitely a sport where that journey becomes very evident, right? You run alone. You don't need anyone else to run with you. So in that sense, like, you really feel your own individual progression, like just relying only on you, and also, where you start, like with what's your physical condition, like we're all very different. So we all start in different places, and also what your ambition is. So where do you want to go? Yeah. With sports where you need other people to play with, it's very difficult to not be competitive, comparing yourself with others. Yeah. In tennis, you play with someone. You either win or lose or draw or whatever that is. Yeah. But I also think that that's also that the same happens in these sports. The same happens with running. So you're also on your individual journey. And it doesn't matter like if you're winning or losing against that person, but matters the progress that you're doing. Yeah. But it becomes definitely like a bit more, can be a bit more difficult to track your individual progression when the result is it can just be a binary thing of like win or lose. Right. And so I think, when I was also then thinking about the meaning of the word competition, or what does that mean to me, at least what I feel about it is when I'm being competitive. Let's say I'm now speaking a lot about into tennis because it's a thing that I've been into lately. In 2 months, it's going to change, maybe. But like when I'm into competitive mode, it's like, now it's serious. So like if I'm just playing not on a game and just
trading balls, and so like maybe if one ball comes a bit faster or a bit longer or a bit shorter, I will be maybe a bit more reluctant to do an extra effort to catch it. But if it's game on and I'm on the competitive mode, then I'm gonna do everything within my reach to get that.
Yeah.
And if I don't get that, I will not feel as good as if I would have gotten it.
Yeah.
And I imagine with the running and with the serious training is also probably the same feeling. Like if you're setting a goal to your training and you cannot achieve that goal because of whatever factors it is, you will also not feel as good as if you would feel if you had achieved that goal. And in that sense, I would consider that as also being competitive with yourself. It's not indifferent for you to not get that.
No, yeah. And I actually think races sometimes are more. I mean, of course, this all depends because you might wake up on a bad mood. You might wake up with some pain in your legs, or you might have eaten something the night before that it does not make you perform well that day. There's a multitude of factors. It might be pouring rain that day. A lot of things can go wrong. But I think if you've trained and if you have examples in training, in tennis a bit, then I want to go there, but when you have examples in training that you can achieve something, it's usually correlated very directly to what you can achieve in race. And I think that's also, the benefit of having a coach who's knowledgeable and has a lot of experience in this type of stuff, because he knows if I'm doing a certain training at this pace, my race pace is going to be around that. So it also gives me a little bit of confidence for the race. That's like, if this is the set pace and goal that I'm thriving for, I know it's achievable. It's going to be hard, but I know it's achievable. So the race doesn't scare me, or it's kind of like just the execution of what I've been preparing. Sometimes the training, when I'm going into an unknown, it's maybe sometimes more not scary, but it puts you on that place as, am I going to be able to achieve it? Because this is a territory I haven't been. This is a fast pace that felt, if you asked me 6 months ago, I wouldn't be doing this pace, but now I'm doing it. Can I do it actually and run this amount in this pace? I don't know. Let's see. And then sometimes you're kicked in the face and you just end the session and you're on the ground completely destroyed, or you finish and it's like, it was a piece of cake. I could do a few more laps and it's fine. So I feel that competition with myself appears more in training actually. Yeah, but people are very different. I know people who on the start line of a race cannot, like, are super anxious and then mentally break down in race and cannot perform. But in training they clearly can do it. Yeah. Like, there's no question. So it works differently for everyone.
And do you think that there would be any scenario or like something, a scenario where you would see where being competitive in running towards others, where it can be like, where you think that it could be healthy or beneficial?
Only if people are actually on a similar level to me. Because as I said, I think if I saw their training and they can do certain training, certain interval sessions faster than I can, by definition, if they plan their race correctly, if they don't start super fast and then die in the middle, it's very likely that they're going to perform better than I will. And the opposite the same. So I think it's only if the people are on a similar track, or if it's something that involves a little bit more strategy, like, I don't know, trail running and ups and downs, that you need to kind of control your energy to go uphill and downhill and more technical things, which I'm also not super into. I'm more into road running, flat races. So I don't really see it in my life. I think if I can be better than other people, that's a great, outcome, but it's not what I'm
No.
pushing for.
And
But I know that in the sports that you've been practicing, it's actually, if I think about it, it has that pattern that's usually very binary, because tennis is like that. Fighting sports is very much like that as well, in a way. But also, the fighting sports is a different breed, because it kind of, you rarely play for real to win or lose, right?
I mean, I have not been I never fought officially with anyone, just sparring, right? So in that, because for me, like, fighting sports are amazing workout. It's like it's an amazing workout that you get. The sparring is also quite nice, but going into an arena just felt quite, not for me. I think I'm not made like that. But yeah, it's true that there's quite a lot of these binary, win or lose, component, and it's very difficult to not compare yourself with your opponent, because you'll either win them or lose against them. But I think that in its own way, like that's also why I'm a very big fan in most of the sports that I do of like this sparring, the sparring concept, whether it's fighting or whether it is just like playing tennis and just like trading balls endlessly, and just like, in its own way, like playing, like, if you're never really playing like if it's a real game. But I think it's also on those moments where like super cool things can happen, because when you're playing for real and when you're being competitive, you're also a bit more tense, you're more alert, and in a way, like a lot of good things can happen. But I think you also end up playing a little bit more on the safe side. And when you have that guard down is also where like really cool, creative, and new things can happen, right? And in its own way, it becomes also like two very different states of mind playing the same sport.
And do you think that tension is beneficial? Because what you're saying is that maybe the most like fluid and creative way can actually be your best game, your best play, right?
Yeah. I think, at least for the level that I play in, that's absolutely the case. When you're like kind of like a amateur tennis player, like you will, just the fact you have these like mental blockages, right, where suddenly you stop being able to serve. Like, why? Like, you have been serving so well on your trainings, and you arrive at that game and that just doesn't flow. I think, but it can also make you like super alert and like being able to reach to balls that in no way you thought you could, but because you're with all that pumped adrenaline, like your body just moves in ways that you didn't know it was possible before. So it's a different game. It's a different feeling, and it has both its pros and cons. But I definitely enjoy that like free flow state of like of the sparring, and you're just allowing yourself to be in the game. And that's it's also part of the game, or part of the sports, the competition and the competition pressure, and so but I also think that it's also part of the game, like to be on that free flow and just doing things. It's also kind of the feeling of having fun, even if it's not recorded. The times where today we have with Instagram and social events and parties and whatnot, I feel that in its own way can be the difference in between sparring and like competitive mode. As in, like, you're having fun, like probably a lot of like wow, amazing points will happen, but just because it was not a game, that does not mean that did not happen and that it did not count.
I get that.
So there you go, analogy straight out of the pocket.
Good. Do you have any competitions or any things that you're looking for in tennis?
I mean, I've started playing this tournament that is ongoing, but I want to be at a better shape to also start going into. That is my plan now, for this to be like the first sport where I'm going to try to like compete seriously and try to see like how I would go about it, because that's also like one of the best economical ways to play around it. Like as in, you sign up for tournaments, and then if you win, you just keep playing. So
Okay.
the what you can get out of those sign-up fees can be quite good if you're a good player. And so I'm gonna try to start my journey there, and let's see, you know.
And is it easy to, as someone who's just starting, I mean, not starting out, you have some experience, but as someone who's not like competitive in a high level, there's a lot of tournaments for, like, you know,
I'm starting to get into this world. Honestly, I don't know so much about it yet, but I think there's quite some, and like everything, you know, when you start, you don't know people, and then you start playing, you start going into the places. If you're interested in, you start going more often, and then suddenly you start bridging those connections, and then things start coming.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to play tennis, I think, in cities, and I guess this is also a thing across probably most capitals that it's you need to go a bit outside on the outskirts to play sometimes. So it's also figuring out that fine balance,
finding the right spots.
Yeah
You told me just like a while ago about an app you're trying to build. What is that all about?
So it's coming from a pain that I have with going into the gym and doing weight training, and, you know, like me being a very messy person, and not being able to not finding a good system that works for me to like register my weights and to get, you know, my plans updated with like suggested progressions, and, you know, essentially the configuration that I would like to have on my training. And, you know, there's many solutions out there that, you know, can provide you these services. But every time I enter in these solutions, like, it's very, they build it with their own train of thought, you know, and like how to go about it. And I always feel that there's you just download these things and just have this like wall of overwhelmingness that you have to get through, and you have to learn how to use it, which, okay, fair. Most likely what I'm doing will also be the same thing, but I am the one building it. And so therefore I'm already, like, I will already know how it works, and I'm building something that will serve me in its own way. And I'm also just taking, you know, it's also a curiosity project just to see also how good we can do something by knowing not so much of a coding experience. So that's also my case. I've never developed an app myself. So that's also what I'm trying to do, and it's going quite good. So let's see how far we're gonna get with this. But the expectation is to have something running within the next month, and so that I can start my like tracking things properly, and also starting sharing it with people and see like if people like it or not, but most important is like something that works for me, and that I can finally figure out a way to like be organized with all the different weights and repetitions and exercises that one does, and try to have like a centralized try to have this information centralized, and try to get suggestions that would be time sensitive, like as I go on my training, so that, you know, if I'm going quite regularly to the gym, would be totally okay to keep increasing cargo or like load. But like, what if I stop going into the gym for 3 weeks? Like, most likely I should not go after 3 weeks, or like after 1 month of not going. I should not go straight into these to the same weights that I was doing before. So like trying to find also like these cool regressions into what would make sense, and to deload, and also, you know, try to study it a bit, and hopefully I can get also some people to try it out, and to collect some data, and to figure out some findings, because like this is my idea, would definitely not to replace, you know, like a coach for me at the gym, but just I think it would be super useful for someone who can already go to the gym and knows more or less what to do, but can be a bit confused into, you know, what is the plan, you know, that I should follow to get me into either, you know, building more muscle, or losing a bit of more weight, or just becoming more, you know, functional. What could be the progression steps to do? And that's something I'm proposing myself to do. So let's see if I'll do it, or if this will just be just like any other sport where I just maybe shift myself midway and I grab some learnings here and then I go into the next thing. But
Yeah, I think with these AI coding tools, it just, I think it's giving everyone just such an easy way in. This world that was before kind of locked into people who knew how to code and knew all the underlying things. So I don't know, I expect to see a lot of new small projects built by just random people and just starting to pop up. I don't even know. I think I'm quite still old school on my way of training. It's just I have someone and and I do my training and I post it on Strava and stuff.
Yeah, and I think that would definitely be the best way to go about it for most people, to have a coach like assigned and dedicated to them. But that also these days can also be something that not everyone can either find, and it's also becoming something in its own way, I think, more and more difficult to get also a coach for yourself, and also interestingly enough, maybe it's a bit of a detour on the topic, but also coaches, I never really had many coaches growing up as a kid because I didn't play that many sports, but I think coaches these days can play also super important roles in the life of kids who are doing sports. Not only to motivate them into doing the sports, but also into coaching them in because through sports you can teach a big range of morals and ethics that can span across different areas of life.
100%, yeah.
And I think that it can be quite concerning in its own way. If as a kid, if you haven't felt a good connection with a coach figure, which doesn't have to be sports. I imagine it can be music, it can be also a teacher or so, but having this coaching approach of adapting and creating a plan for you, and then knowing where you are at, knowing where you want to go, and crafting that path together, and also giving you the tools for you to be able to craft those paths that you'll have in the future. I think it's a super amazing skill to have, and I think you can also totally feel the difference in between people who have learned early in their lives how to do that, either because they had a great coach, or either because they had conditions in their life that promoted themselves to go out there and figure these things out by themselves, which sometimes can also not be the most pleasant experiences to have. But you can feel a big difference also on people, especially as they become young adults and normal average adults. I don't know what's the word. You can feel a big difference on the ones who know how to do that and the ones who don't, and that is maybe a cool soft skill that goes very much unnoticed.
No, big skill. I think from running, I've taken a lot of teachings to the rest of my life, and I think the biggest thing was coaching. I feel like it's finding something and routines that work for you and that you choose to do. I think that's very important, because if you are the one deciding, you are just, there's no other influence. You're doing that because you want to. So there's nothing around that needs to be figured out. And then a plan that keeps you consistent and that fits to what you're looking for. And I think that ability to have that consistency. And I found that with running, I think it's the first time I find that with anything, to be honest. It's this I don't even think about motivation, but maybe that's just how I approach it. For me, motivation is something that is kind of a side thing. that doesn't really matter that much, because I know my kind of routine, my training. I trust the outcome. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I trust that this is the right path. And I just put in the work, and in my mind, when I'm like waking up early and I have plans in the afternoon, so the only time to fit in the training is before going to work, and it's cold outside, and I didn't maybe went to bed a bit late, and I don't want to do it or whatever. If I don't do it, I'm just postponing my goal. That's what goes through my mind. It's like, if I put the consistency, and if I appear every day that I need to appear, and I rest all the days that I need to appear is also important. And when I need to do these kinds of things and kind of compromise on things, it's like, if I don't do it now, I'm delaying a week of my goal. And if I do it enough times and I skip enough times, I'm delaying a year achieving my goal, because I didn't appear consistently. And just this thought makes it very clear that I'm just gonna do it. And it's raining outside, cool, but I'm gonna do it, because else I'm delaying what I'm working towards. And this thought is super strong. Like, it's super it's something that if I carry it to other parts of my life, to work, to I don't know, to this podcast, to my relationships with people, it's something that consistency and building on small steps, coming, appearing, and doing it as I want this. So I'm gonna do it. Else I'm just delaying what I want. And for what?
Do you consider that an obsession?
I would say that it could be called that, actually. But I also think, is it an obsession if it doesn't really hurt yourself? It doesn't really hurt you, and you choose to do it, and you're aware. I don't know.
Yeah.
And for me,
I don't know also.
For me it works, and I don't know. It's something that I've thought a lot about. I think running, the consistency of it, the appearing every day, the mindset I approach it with, is something that I would love to do in multiple fronts of my of other things I do in life.
And do you think that would be possible? Do you think that would be sustainable in a way, to have that high level of obsession towards one thing, spread it across multiple things?
Running, I have that, and I love it. Every time I go out, I love it. Every time I go out, I come back home with a smile on my face, even if it's cold and rainy outside. Every time I finish a race, I'm ecstatic, you know. So I think it's, if you want to call it an obsession, it's something that works very well for me. And it makes my day-to-day in my life very like it adds so much. And I think with projects and work and stuff, approaching it this way, it's also like a commitment. Like you really give yourself fully, and you choose that process, and you choose that you're doing that. So I think when you lose motivation is when you lose that why. It's like, why am I doing this? What is this for? And not appreciating the thing you're doing and the process of doing it. That's,
which can also be something quite good for you, right? To lose that why, and to figure out that, like, maybe that's something that you don't want to be doing. I'm not saying that you should stick to it regardless of everything else. If you're miserable, be my guest, choose something else, you know. But that's why the choice is also such an important thing in my head. It's like it's the pains you choose to go through, and the pains you enjoy to go through, because in the end, that's what I think life is. Sometimes it's just choosing the pains that you enjoy the most. Because it's gonna be painful at points on anything, you know, career wise, sports wise, anything. So are you like a David Goggins type of approach towards sports and life fan with like just
David Goggins, I've never really been into that rabbit hole. I know who he is, of course, and I know the whole thing of like ultras and keep going even if blah blah blah, you know.
mm-hmm.
But I think it goes a bit into the unhealthy,
Mm-hmm.
because I also have a thing of longevity
Mm-hmm.
in this whole thing. Like I mean, I try to believe that I'm not running because of, you know, because it's trendy right
Mhm.
now. I think it's I've ran in the past, and it's something that gives me a lot of joy, and I don't particularly you know, boast a lot about it. I just do my training, do my goals, do my objectives. People around me know what I'm doing, but it's not something that I'm very vocal about.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You realize you're doing a podcast about sports, right?
yeah, because I like yapping about it. I love yapping about it. So it's yeah, it fits. But
I don't like speaking so much about it after 1 hour.
but I also have this longevity thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is like I want to be doing this into my 40s,
Mm-hmm.
into my 50s. I want to fit it in with family at some point, or with whatever work I'm doing, or I want it to be a part of my life for a long time. I don't have like a goal of achieving this pace in this race as fast as possible, and maybe going through hoops and trying to achieve it as fast as possible
Mm-hmm.
with a very aggressive training that might put me with an injury and sideline me for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a possibility. I could be doing that type of training, but I choose to do a training that's less intense on my body, more focused, and more focused on longevity, and minimizing injuries, minimizing all that. So, for example, I'm not running every day. I really have like rest days that I trust and that I fully go through. Like now, strength work in the gym is religious, you know. I don't skip. I have to go, because else I'm risking injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the David Goggins view of things is like pushing at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you have this goal, you have to push at all costs. If in a race, imagine I'm doing a half marathon, and imagine at kilometer 16 I have a pain in my knee that I've never felt before, and I feel like it's bad, and I feel like it's really like, it's not muscle pain, it's something that happened, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not good. If I push through, I might not be able to train for the next month,
Mm-hmm.
just because in that moment I decided to be stupid, not listen to my body, and go through it and make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hear early, you can stop for a week, come back to training, and then in 6 months you're going to be better if compared to when you pushed that day.
Mm.
So these things are in my head.
But then, you know, like how, because when you're in these situations of running a marathon or so, I imagine that across that process, you know, you will come across these pains and or these signals that your body is telling you, hey, you're going too fast. You're going too fast, man. Like you're pushing. You'll feel that your body is telling you that. So, but I totally also reckon that, you know, when we hear these things from our body, that we want to, like, we need to listen into them, right, and understand whether is this an alarming thing or is this just my body telling me to like chill out, and I know, and I will compensate it. I will compensate it later, but for now, like, please give it all you got. How do you go about it mentally when you're in stress during a race over these things? So how do you first, you know, what goes through your mind when you like feel that you hear your body asking you to stop, and how do you make it not stop, and how do you perceive maybe things that could be what would be more concerning to you or not? Because maybe to you, like, that sign on the knee could mean please stop now, but maybe for me, like, could be actually this is just one of the many other pains that will come. So like, where's the line, right? Because I could also see like that this mindset of like pushing through hardship, and that like we will just tend to go naturally towards like laziness in the sense of like not wanting to move, right? So when I hear these like characters such as Goggins, or just like just keep going, just go, like achieve your target, like whatever it costs. Like I could also see the healthy side of it, of like pushing through that laziness layer of us just not achieving our full potential. But I can also see it how, like, if you're not maybe so aware and you have not developed that like sense of awareness towards your body, that can be not so beneficial and can lead you to like be injured. So like what can be like the tips for one to be at that fine line?
For me, it's in training. That's where I experiment with everything, and that I see everything. I for example, for the past year, 2025, the first 6 months, I was on and off injured. I had 2-3 good weeks of training, 2-3 good weeks of lower intensity because my Achilles hurt, or my foot had something, or whatever it was. Later I realized in the second half of the year I started doing strength training. All that went away in some shape or form, and that's why for me strength training is so important to avoid injury. But in those moments I realized, okay, I can push one session and it will start hurting at some point. I'm warm also, so when I cool down, usually it starts hurting a bit more. But it's like I can still place all my foot on the ground. Pain is somewhat controlled, is not increasing. I've had this in the past and it lasts one day and then I'm good, and then I don't feel it again and I can go train the rest of the week. So it's kind of also listening to your body, like learning these alarms. Because sometimes if it's muscle pain, if you cramp, you rest, you put ice, you do foam rolling or whatever mobility stuff to kind of loosen, massage or something to loosen muscles. And usually it's not a big thing. It's not something that puts you on the sidelines. When it's tendons, when it's like Achilles, knee, foot, like plantar fasciitis or something, those things start crawling in. They don't appear at once, usually only if you do like a very intense hard thing that snaps something or whatever. But so I differentiate between these two. In the end of a half marathon, of course my muscles are hurting, of course my calves are a bit on fire, but that pain is not making me stop. That's the pain you go through, because muscles will regain themselves and will kind of solve itself out. Of course you can have a micro rupture, but it's also like it's gonna be fine-ish. When it's tendons, it's something that's gonna maybe take weeks to fully recover, so that you don't feel it ever, like you don't feel it again in normal training. So I think that for me is like knowing your body in training, going through these experiences, and in training also being smart in, okay, I started hurting at the fifth set and I have 10 to do, 10 laps of whatever, 400 meters or whatever. At the fifth it starts hurting, you do a sixth, it's like hurts more, don't finish the training. Like go home, rest, see if it hurts the next day, do strengthening very soon to strengthen that area that started hurting, and then repeat until there's really nothing else that kind of starts in a race. I mean, if there's a pain that I don't know and it's tendon or joint related, I think I would consider stopping. Only if it's something that's not getting worse over time. But again, everyone works differently, and for
everyone
me,
works differently, and when it comes to pain, feeling is also like something that I find also quite interesting. Like how, like what is painful for me might not be painful for you.
Yeah.
But even if maybe something is not being painful for me, like that can still be fucking me up, and what can be very painful for you could actually be okay for you to keep going a bit more.
Yeah.
So like I find like it would be super cool if one day we can actually figure out like, you know, what is the adequate level of pain that for each individual signifies actual danger or actually that's okay. Because it's also like when you go into a physiotherapist or to a doctor and says it hurts here, like you're just telling the doctor like your based on your experience of what hurting is, you're telling them that. But for that specific doctor, they might have a different perception towards what pain or hurt is. Especially I imagine as a health professional, like you've seen people in the most extreme layers of pain. And so also like how to make that bridge, because if I've never been like severely injured, I also don't know what real pain is. And I think it's difficult to communicate. It's difficult to communicate these things accurately, right? And I think we many times may end up not only like sports wise, but also not like when it comes to health. You know, like there can be sometimes maybe some higher chances of misdiagnosing some things, like when this communication is a bit blurry sometimes.
I think one thing
so relative.
One thing that helped me was going to a physio when I was kind of in this up and downs of injuries of things. I had some IT band pain. It's like this empty pain in my thigh, and it was so weird because I've never had pains there. It was usually more foot related. And I went to a doctor, got into a physio. He did some, massaging and some mobility of the thing. And but the biggest thing I got from it is the strength training exercises that he recommended. That's exactly what I do in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do many weights. I don't do many things. It's just what I got the most out of was if you do these exercises consistently, you're strengthening your feet, knees, hips, back, core, and you're kind of bulletproofing them a little bit. So if you put load on them, they're going to hold. That's kind of how I see it. And I think it's extremely important to go through that. And in a way of that we communicated with me and my physio was in the scale of 1 to 10, how much is that pain? And how does it feel for you? Of course, I mean, if you don't know what 10 is.
Exactly, but that's the thing, right? The 10 for you might be a very different 10 for me, because if you've been severely injured and I have not, our scales will be different. And if as a doctor you're diagnosing someone based if they tell you a 7 or a 3, that can be, And
it's also, I don't know, for example, cramp hurts like hell. But you know that if you just stretch a bit, put ice or like put some, some rest and recovery on it, it's gonna solve itself out. But
try to remember the first time you felt a cramp in your life. It was probably terrifying. Like what the heck is this? Like why is my muscle stopped? Or why can I not move my?
I actually have a nice story. I mean, nice story. It was not really nice, but. My first half marathon in Lisbon, I signed up. I was doing some training, not very structured, but just like going out, trying to increase the amount of kilometers I was doing. I wasn't running much at the time. And then 2 or 3 weeks before the race, I did an involuntary taper, which is like when you decrease your load before a race to be fresh, because my knee started hurting at kilometer 10, and then the next time I ran it at kilometer 11, and then et cetera. Like my knee started hurting. It was kind of like locking when I arrived at the specific kilometers, and I was a bit scared of it because it was knee. I didn't know how to deal with it. It was kind of weird, and I thought, okay, I'm not gonna do it. Like I'm not gonna race. It's all right. And then the day before. My brother-in-law, he was like, he was doing it with me. He was like, I'll get your number. I'll pick it up for you, and you decide tomorrow if you're going to do it or not. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm probably not going to do it, but yeah, sure, do it. And then the night before, I was like, yeah, let's just go. If I stop midway, I'll stop midway. Like I'll see how it goes. And I went, and I'm so glad I went because it was so exciting. The start line, the energy, I've never felt that before in a big race. And I was like, wow, okay, let's go. Felt like first 5K super smooth. I arrived at 10K, which was already like danger territory, and not much more than what I've done. I think I've done 14K before, so like kind of your experience. And from 10 to 12, my knee starts hurting. And I'm like, okay, now what do I do? And I start like kind of jogging very slowly, almost walking, pushing it a little bit, trying to not make it hurt too much. But I was like, damn, I have this uncomfortable feeling in my knee. That's kind of a pain, but I can still keep going a little bit. And I did that for 1-2 kilometers. Pain gone, disappeared, vanished. And I start running again normally until I finished the race. And I still did a good time, even though I almost walked 2 kilometers. And that pain never came again.
Wow.
I've never had that pain in my knee again ever since, in anything.
Yeah, that's weird.
So these things are also very strange. Like in that case, I also didn't know myself that well. Like I don't know if it was today and that happened, I would have continued because maybe I would have other goals, other races in the future. I'm like, I'm sacrificing maybe weeks of training because of this. It's not worth it. At the time, I was just like, okay, this is the only thing I have, so I'm just gonna try to make it. And it worked out well. And I didn't have any pains after that in my knee. So it was, I mean, these things are also...
Yeah, it's very...
So unstable, yeah.
They're very random, and like we feel different in how we would like to go about it. Like there's people that, I have friends that whenever they feel these things, they just ignore them because they just trust that their body is going to handle them and that they're going to disappear. And then there's others like that as soon as they feel one thing, they're like, this does not feel good, I'm stopping here. So it's also nice to try both approaches and see how you feel. But because I also definitely feel that's a lot with running and running long distances. Weird pains start coming in, and then if you're not able to calm your mind out, and especially if you're like me who can have these like low-key, borderline, how does it say, like someone who's afraid of that is getting diseases all the time.
Yeah, hypochondria.
If you're borderline hypochondriac like me, your brain can start going like fuck, like am I losing my hip next week or like a, so yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, we've been talking for a while. Yeah. Thank you for joining me here in the couch. And
absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Looking forward to see this live.